Ready to upgrade your meatball game? I'm transforming the classic meatballs in red sauce using chicken, mushrooms, and cheese. It's all rolled up into a flavor explosion. Hi everyone, welcome to Let's Celebrate TV. I'm your host, Peter Lee. Today, our celebration is all about meatballs. We're going to be making my cheesy chicken and mushroom meatballs. Let's get started. This was a fun recipe to create. It started out as something completely different and evolved into this, and I'm happy to share it with you. The first thing we want to do today is we want to prepare a pan. I have here a sheet pan, and I've lined it with some parchment paper. That's going to keep the meatballs from sticking. It's also going to help in cleanup afterwards. If you can't get parchment paper, you can use cooking spray instead. Just give it a good spray to make sure those meatballs don't stick. I have a skillet here that's heating up over medium heat. We're going to add a couple tablespoons of olive oil, and we're going to let it heat until it's just shimmering. All right, this is starting to shimmer. We're going to start with some mushrooms. I have here 6 ounces or 170 grams of white button mushrooms. Now, I've chopped them up pretty coarsely, but I did it by hand instead of using a food processor. The processor, it's faster, but it's going to grind them down too far, and you want this for the texture. So I'm going to go right in our oil. And we're going to season this with a little salt and pepper. Now we're going to cook these down, stirring them occasionally until the mushrooms are reduced down and almost dry. All right, my mushrooms are cooked down, and why I did that is I wanted to get the excess water out of them so they won't make our meatballs soggy, and that's also going to intensify their flavor. So these are about ready. We're going to add a little bit more to this. Next up, my favorite is garlic. I have 4 cloves here that I minced really finely on my microplaner. It's going to go right in. I'm going to stir this in. We're just going to cook it for another 2, maybe 3 minutes at the most, just until the garlic gets fragrant. You don't want to burn it. All right, I'm smelling that garlic. Next up is parsley. Now, this is 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley that I chopped up. It's very important to use fresh in this recipe. You can get it in every supermarket. Right in our pot. Now we're going to cut the heat. We're going to give this a stir, and we're just going to let this cool. Now let's talk chicken, because these are chicken meatballs. I have here in my large bowl 16 ounces or about 450 grams of ground chicken. Now, this is an 80% lean. You can get ground chicken that is even leaner, 90% and 95%. But I wanted that little bit of extra fat in it because it's already pretty lean, but that's going to help keep our meatballs nice and moist. To this, we need to add some flavoring and binder. We're going to do that first with some breadcrumbs. I have half a cup, which weighed out to about 50 grams of breadcrumbs. Next up is an egg. Just one, right in. Now, the next is a little surprise. These are cheesy meatballs. And I have here 8 ounces, 230 grams about of shredded Gruyere cheese. Gruyere is wonderful. It's nutty, it's creamy, and it melts really well. Right in. Our mushroom mixture should be cool enough, so we're going to add that in. And finally, some salt and pepper. We're going to stir this up and mix it well I'm going to use my spoon to start. Now I'm going to use my favorite kitchen tool, my impeccably clean hands. It will go much faster this way. All right, this is just where I want it. Now I'm going to go wash my chickeny hands, and then we're going to make some meatballs. All right, it's time to make some meatballs. Now we want to portion these into about 2.5 ounce, 65 gram size meatballs. I like using this little 1/4 cup measuring cup. You could use an ice cream scoop if you have one about the same size. The whole idea is to get them as uniform as possible, so that way they'll cook evenly. So I'm just going to scoop some out into my hand, give it a little roll, and right on to my sheet pan. Now I'm making these rather large because they're a main course, but you could make them smaller, serve them as an appetizer. Look at that. I got 12 meatballs out of this, which is a perfect amount. Now I went and washed my chickeny hands, but look how beautiful these are. Now it's time to cook them. We're going to bake these at 375 Fahrenheit, which is 190 Celsius. And it's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes or until they reach an internal temperature of 165 Fahrenheit, which is 74 Celsius. So off to the oven. Here we are out of the oven. Took about 18 minutes. Now I pulled these at 160 because carryover cooking would take that till 165, 170. I didn't want dried out meatballs. Now, while they're baking, I made a little velouté sauce to have with them. You remember velouté sauce is one of the mother sauces, and we did an episode on it. I'll leave you a link up here and in the description below. So let's give these a little taste. I'm just going to steal this one right here. Still a little warm. Just a little bit of this sauce right on top. All right. Now let's cut this open, see how it looks on the inside. You can see big chunks of mushroom, the parsley, there's some cheese that leaked out, which is fine. Oh, that's so good. Lots of mushroom, cheesiness. The chicken is very tender, melts in your mouth. And then you get this brightness from the parsley, like a grassiness. It's wonderful. Now I need a little Sauvignon Blanc to wash this down. Actually, my crew was having some Sauvignon Blanc too. All right, if you like this episode and you learned something, then do us a favor, sign up for our newsletter. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell. You'll never miss an episode. All right, I'm going to actually serve these to my family for dinner tonight. While I do that, I want you to watch some of these episodes over here. So until next time, everyone, cheers.